Hello, students. Today is October 13th, and we're going to start reviewing fractions again. I know everybody gets a little upset when we think about fractions, but it's okay. We'll just keep practicing and take a gentle approach toward this. And, students, I know you're just going to get this, and I know you're going to be great. I know you've been working hard, and you're going to continue to do that. So let's take a look at what we're going to do today. I'm feeling like it's a pink day today. So I'm going to get my pink pen. We are first going to respond thoughtfully to the do now question about surviving and thriving. The focus today is on thriving. Then we will review simplifying fractions. And our essential question today is, how can I represent a fraction in its simplest form? And we'll look at what that means. And then we'll look at how can I convert improper fractions to mixed numbers and go back again. And we'll talk about what an improper fraction is and what a mixed number is. Our assignment for today is to watch this video, which you've obviously already started doing. It's about fractions, and we'll have a worksheet to complete. In our exit ticket, I'd like you to try to write in your own words how to convert a mixed number to a fraction, and it will be an improper fraction. For homework, I just want to make sure that you finish all of your classwork. The quiz from last week, make sure that's turned in. And remember, we're using Teams, and in Teams, when you submit, you have to click a button that says See Results. And that way your quiz gets graded and you get credit for all your hard work. Thank you for that. So let's move on. We have a little reminder, and this is so important. You must do all your work when it's assigned. Students, if you let everything go, oh, maybe I'll do it this weekend or something like that, and I keep moving on in class to new concepts, you're going to feel lost. So try to stay on top of everything as it's assigned. It will really help you. So here's our do now for today. And we're talking about words that describe kind of fear or being afraid. The question is, how is fearfully terrified different from fearfully worried? And are there other ways to be afraid? I know I'm terrified when I think of some of the people that are sick right now in the hospital with COVID, and but I'm not terrified when I think about myself because I wear my mask all the time. I'm a little bit worried, but I know that I'm careful, and I know that I take care of my worry by thinking positive, by eating well, by getting enough sleep. Are there other ways to be afraid? I'm afraid that some of my students maybe aren't paying attention as distance learners, and that's something that makes me concerned. Concerned is another kind of fear. So it's not just being afraid. There are all these different ways to be afraid. And when you can name your emotions with a certain level of specificity, sometimes it helps you to maybe solve some of those problems and move on. So that's what today's do now is. So pause the video and please take a few minutes to think about that and then write a sentence or two about it. Okay, our exit ticket at the end of our lesson will be to explain in your own words. Your own words, okay? We're not going to just copy, we're going to think this one through. How to convert a mixed number to a fraction. So let's take a look at today's work. So our topic is we're beginning our work on fractions. I know this is a review of prior years, but sometimes it's good to review and sometimes we need that reminder. So let's start with the basics. This part of the fraction here is the numerator. And this is the denominator. Having names for things helps us to have a discussion about them, and it helps us to all be on the same page and know what we're talking about. So all numbers that can be written as fractions are called rational numbers. We call them rational numbers. Numbers that can be written as fractions are rational numbers. So we also can have the simplest form of a fraction. And the simplest form of a fraction is a fraction that cannot be simplified any further. So a fraction that cannot be simplified any further. So we're going to write each of these fractions in their simplest form. Now, with some of these fractions, we're going to look for a factor that is common to both of these, and hopefully we can look for the greatest common factor, but if we don't find the greatest common factor, we can keep factoring until we get to simplest form. But we're going to divide both the top and the bottom by the factor. So 8 divided by, I know that 4 is a factor of 8 and 20. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. 20 divided by 4 is 5. So negative 6/18. Don't forget, this doesn't go away, it stays. We know that 6 is a factor of itself, but it's also a factor of 18. Remember, same factor, top and bottom. We can't choose a different factor for the numerator and the denominator. 6 divided by 6 equals 1. 18 divided by 6 equals 3. We know that we can divide both the top and the bottom, the numerator and denominator, by 3. 21 divided by 3 is 7. 27 divided by 3 is 9. And these are all the simplest form of each of these fractions. Let's take a look at negative 24/40. Don't forget our negative sign. We've got a negative sign here. So we can divide the numerator and denominator by 8, which will give us 3/5, negative 3/5. Here we can divide the numerator and the denominator by 6, which will give us a negative 2/7, negative 2/7. In the next problem, we can divide the numerator and the denominator by 9, which will give us 4/5. That's a positive 4/5. And for number 7, we can divide 16 and 56 are both divisible by 8. 16 divided by 8 is 2. 56 divided by 8 is 7. Now, be careful. We have an improper fraction where the numerator is greater than the denominator. So if we divide the numerator by the denominator, remember, a fraction is really division. How many groups of 3 will we have in 18? And 18 divided by 3 is indeed 6. So that's the simplest form of that fraction. And number 9, 8/28. We'll divide both the numerator and the denominator by 4. Remember, that's a negative 8/28. So that will be divided by 4, not denominator divided by 4, which will give me a negative 2/7. And that's a final answer. So let's change our color and let's look at what an improper form of a fraction is. An improper form. An improper form is a fraction in which the numerator is larger or greater than the denominator. Okay, now what are mixed numbers? Mixed numbers are represented by a number and a fraction. So you'll have a whole number and a fraction. Okay, we're going to have some rules to convert from improper fractions to mixed numbers and from mixed numbers to improper fractions. So let's look at some of these examples here. So the directions ask us to write each improper fraction as a mixed number. So when we look at number 10, which is 19/6, okay, it starts out, we have 19 units of something, or 19/6. So let's look at 19, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So how many groups of 6 do we have? That's what we're looking at, because each one of these is a sixth. So here's 6, here are 6, here are 6, and then we've got this 1 left over. So we have 1, 2, 3 groups of 6 with 1/6 left over. Okay, let's look at the negative 26/3. So we'll start, let's change our color, and we'll make 26, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So how many groups of 3 do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 groups of 3 with 2/3 left over. Remember, this is a negative fraction. 8 and 2/3. Let me write that a little neater just to make it a little clearer. -8 and 2/3. And this is the one place where I talk about not saying and inappropriately when you say your numbers. Here it is appropriate to say -8 and 2/3. Now, what is a graphical way, without drawing pictures, that we could convert these improper fractions to mixed numbers? Well, it's really, remember I said that when we see this fraction bar, this vinculum, what that represents is division. What that means is that 17 is being divided by 2. So how many times does 2 go into 17? Well, I know 2 is a factor of 17 because 2 times 8 is 16. So remember, divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. So 7 take away 6 is 1. So what we have here is a remainder of 1. So we have 8 and 1/2. You see how I did that? I divided 17 by 2. I got 8 whole. And then 1/2 left over. This becomes the numerator, and this is the denominator. So 17/2 converts to 8 and 1/2. So try the next 3 on your own. Take a minute, pause the video, and see if you can do them yourself. Okay, let's finish up. I hope you tried them yourself. Let's get another color for this group. We'll start with a little green. Okay, 21 divided by 4 is 5 whole, because 5 times 4 is 20, and 1/4 left over, a remainder. 3 is a factor of 7 because 7 is divisible by 3 2 times with 1/3 left over. And here we have a negative, so we have to make sure we include that. And 35 is divisible by 8 because 8 times 4 is 32, and we would have 3 left over. So it would be 4 3/8. Now we're going in the other direction. Here we have mixed numbers, and we're converting them to improper fractions. And I hope you noticed, students, that with these improper fractions, the numerator is always greater than the denominator because it represents one or more entire groups of the denominator. So if I have 3 whole, let's make some room. Let's do some erasing. And let's make some room here so that we can write. So if I have 3 groups of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I have one more fifth left over, how many fifths do I have altogether? Well, I have 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 1. We can add these groups together. So 5, 10, 15, and one more is 16. That would give me 16 fifths. Let's try the next group with sevenths, and we'll change our color just to make it a little bit clearer. So we're looking at groups of 7. Groups of 3, 7 groups of 3. So let's see, 7 groups of 3. There's 1 group of 3, 2 groups of 3, 3 groups of 3, 4 groups of 3, 5 groups of 3, 6 groups of 3, 7 groups of 3, plus 2 left over, or 2 remaining, I should say. So how many thirds do we have altogether? We have 3, and 3 make 6, and 3 make 9, and 3 make 12, 3 more makes 15, 3 more makes 18, 3 more makes 21, 22, 23. So altogether, we have 23 thirds. So what would be an easy way without making these drawings? Is there a quicker way that we can get from the improper form, from the mixed number form to the improper form? And here's what it is. I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick. Get rid of this. Okay, here we go. If we take the denominator and multiply it by the numerator, multiply numerator by the whole number. I'm sorry, I should have written denominator. My bad. I should have written denominator there, sorry. Denominator by the whole number. Then add the numerator. Okay, so how does this work? 7 times 3 is 21, plus the numerator, 2 is 23. Then you keep the denominator. So let's try it over here. 10 times -1 is -10, plus 9 equals 19. So our final answer will be negative, we need that negative sign, 19/10. Okay, we're going to multiply the denominator by the whole number, then add the numerator. So -2 times 13 equals 26. 26 plus 11 equals 37. So the answer will be -37/13. Let's try this one. Multiply the denominator by the whole number. 7 times -4 equals -28 plus 3 equals -31/7. And then the last one, 10 times 8 equals 80. And then 80 plus 1 equals 81. Keep the denominator, 81/8. And that's how it works. So practice a few of these on your own. And I know that if you practice, you'll be great at this. It just takes practice. So let's go back to our exit ticket. And what are the steps to convert a mixed number to a fraction? So let's take an example, 4 and 5, 6. Okay, we want to convert it to an improper fraction. So we're going to have 6 on the bottom, but what do? We multiply the denominator by the whole number, then add the numerator, and then the whole thing will be put over the denominator. So we'll put the new number over the old denominator. So in this case, we have 4 times 6 equals 24. And then we add the numerator, 24 plus 5 equals 29. So our final answer in this case will be 29/6. And if it's a negative, you'll keep that negative sign. So keep practicing, students, and with a lot of hard work, I know you'll be great.